far as these Sony Action Cams, this video I'm putting on is to do a little comparison between the older model AS15 and the new model AS100v. I've used these Sony Action Cams since they first hit the market, basically used them extensive. One thing I found out, they're very rugged camera. There are some differences in them, and this isn't to sway anybody to think maybe they should be buying the new one versus old. I just want to give my honest opinion on what I have found so far. There is a noticeable difference in both good and bad between these cameras. So to starting it out, the features on this 100V, just to start it off, this bracket that they supplied with this camera in it itself is quite awesome, enabling a person to mount this camera on a any quarter inch thread tripod. I seem to use that just a tremendous amount, whereas these old ones you had to put them actually in the case, you know, to run it on a tripod. As far as video modes, you have 10 different video modes on the new camera, the 100V, versus 6 on the old one. And two modes that they got on there, the 120 frames and 240 frames per second slow motion, are with sound. And I want to put a clip on the 240 just to show you, you know, and slow it down and speed it up. But the quality of that 240 is nowhere near like I was hoping it would be. I actually so much as sent this camera back in, and Sony had it for 23 days testing it out before they finally told me there's nothing wrong with it. So if you're expecting, you know, some phenomenal footage with at 8 times slow motion, you're not going to get it. It'll play back at normal speed, but you can slow it down to 8 times slow motion and basically, you know, have your frames there. Well, this is 240 frames per second, high speed. Try that again. Spin the ball a little. But all the other modes are pretty much the same as the old one, up to the new Pro mode, which this has. And at first I didn't have a lot of thoughts with it. With one, it takes a SDXC class card, which can be quite expensive to even run the Pro mode. Records it at 50 megabytes per second, up to 50, and the quality on it, actually, if you were to do a side-by-side comparison, you can see a lot better detail and stuff like that than even, let's say, the AS15 at its highest, 1920 by 1080 at 60p. And I didn't really see that difference till I compared them side by side, which I'll put this video on and you can see for yourself. All right, on the left is the AS15 at the highest possible setting at 60p with steady shot on, and on the right is the 100V, highest possible setting in Pro mode with steady shot on. Let's do a little comparison here. The 60V does have the color on vivid, whereas the AS15 doesn't. moving on down, this camera has a flip mode where the AS15 doesn't, where you can flip if you got it mounted upside down, turn your screen over. And the camera itself, I'd have to say, is a lot better than the older one. You got 13.5 megapixels, and you can take one shot. You don't have to just have it on time lapse or whatever, but the image quality is quite a bit different on them two, which I'll throw that on and you can see it. And as far as time lapse itself, this will go down to 1 second per picture time lapse, but it will be in a lower quality when you do have it on time lapse, about the same as this one. And as far as the housing itself, or the camera, this one here is considered splash proof, which I really like, because you know, once you take this bottom off and you put it in your headband mount, you don't have to necessarily worry about getting it wet like you would the old ones. Now keep in mind, they don't say these are splash proof, but I lost the AS10 for a month up in the snow, and it thawed, and the camera still worked when I got it back, and it was completely soaked. You couldn't even see the screen. So, but going with it being splash proof, you know, short of just dunking it in water, that worry isn't there to where you'd have to put it into something bulky to protect it if you're out in the elements. This one has a GPS on it. Both got the Wi-Fi, but the GPS, you know, some people might find good. I don't use it that much, but you can go into play memories and impose data on the video itself, which is, I guess, kind of neat. Battery life, I'm gonna tell you right now, supposedly this is better, but I've run both side by side with Wi-Fi on, and the old one lasted about a half an hour longer. Still a real good battery life. I mean, you can probably get a couple hours out of it, even running Wi-Fi, but that was pretty good. And then the other one, there's on this one, which is to me kind of a headache. I don't know if I got a card in here if it'll work or not, but that bright red light there's no way of shutting it off. Maybe they'll do a firmware update eventually, but some people it might be a pain, but I suppose that you could put a little piece of black tape over it and get rid of that. And then there is what is called a color mode on this camera, a feature that the other one doesn't have. You can change your color from vivid to neutral. You can actually do that in your, you know, if you're rendering in any rendering program to adjust your color, but I guess it's kind of convenient having that there. And this is neutral mode. Said there's not you're going to be able to get the same effect on the computer by altering neutral mode. This here is vivid mode. What I'm wanting to key in on, the pro mode, actually it's a memory hog, but it does give a pretty good quality image. And when I mean a memory hog, I mean a memory hog. I mean, if you were to take this camera, like at 1080 30p, I got 5 hours left on my memory card, and I'm going to go to Pro, turn it on. There's 10. Now there's 1 hour and 41 minutes left. So you're talking roughly probably 3 times the amount of memory as if you were running at a normal high quality, you know, on your card. And it's got the same steady shot as the old one, 170 degree wide and 120 degree normal mode when steady shot's on. But they're overall, the cameras are fairly the same, but with them features that I told you about, there are numerous features on here that is pretty nice. And to be honest with you, like I said, the 50 megabyte per second recording on the Pro mode, I didn't think I would use that much, but if you're not doing a long clip somewhere, it is a noticeable difference. Now, one other thing, that when you get this camera with its accessories, you're going to get this stock lens or stock housing, which is a nice housing. It definitely is not as heavy duty as the older housings, but it's pretty nice because you put it in there, shut it up, and you can still control your modes, you know, your menu and stuff from the side, whereas the old one you couldn't. But one problem that I found with that is this lens, or the front door, you cannot take that off. So if you ever were using this, mounting that, and you don't want the, you know, the distortion or whatever of this lens, or it doesn't really distort anything, but of course you put anything over a lens, piece of plastic is not going to help you get a better picture. But you cannot take this off, whereas the old ones, you know, you had your front door, they slide in and out fairly easily. And then the other one, in order to use underwater with a flat lens, which trust me, you're going to want to use a flat lens if you've seen it, comparison videos I put on, or anybody else's, this flat lens blows away these lenses as far as distortion and being clear underwater. You can't take Sony's flat lens and put it on that the new housing that comes with the 100V. You have to use, you know, the old housing, which by the way, the new camera fits quite well in the old housing, so if somebody's curious on that. So that's kind of a downfall to the housing. It has its pluses and minuses. You got your ability to control the side, but not being able to take the door off and not using a flat lens, that kind of sucks. But overall, the camera performs quite well. And if I were to say recommend buying it versus the old versus the new, I would say overall everyday using, I end up seem like I use this more. This is the everyday. I mean, it works just as well on top of a car or wherever you'd mount it. The quality is real good, and that, and you're talking less than half the price. But the 100V definitely has quite a few more features, and a person will just have to determine, you know, these options that I told you about, are they worth it or not. And I'd say 90% of the time when I'm shooting, this camera does more than enough. So there you go. That's what I think of the cameras.